I'm Josanna Perkins, otherwise known as Josie Toda.
And I'm Josanna Perkins' sidekick, best friend, mom, guardian angel, Yasmine Hamadi.
Rupert Murdoch.
I'm not Rupert Murdoch.
Oh.
I am Yasmine
Wait a
Hamadi.
minute.
I'd rather die.
I'm over here in an island, missing my girls. I'm Alycia Pascual-Peña.
Bitch, you're in the valley.
And this is Dare
I'm
We
in
Say.
Scotland.
And this is Dare We Say. She's in an island. She's in an island called the Valley.
You're in North Hollywood. I'm in Scotland right now.
So technically, Josie's on an
How is
island.
that? Yeah, technically you're on an island.
Josie's an
I just feel
island
alone. That's what it
girl.
meant. Because I'm not in the studio and I'm not with you, Jos. I was saying I miss you.
I feel alone.
Before we get to the Queen's perishing, I have a small little story I want to share. I can't make this stuff up. Some things that happen in my life, I'm like, yeah, this is not an A24 coming of age film. Timothée Chalamet is not the protagonist in this. It is me. But I'm also the antagonist. I am my own worst nightmare and my greatest fantasy. I went to Sephora. So everyone knows when I get anxious or stressed, I go to Sephora. This is not a paid ad from Sephora. There's something about the lights that make me feel like I'm at a hospital.
It's your safe haven.
It is my safe haven. I don't know why hospitals just calm me weirdly.
Oh my God, I love hospitals. I tell people that all the time. My favorite government place, or like like when you think of a church or a bank, or like if you're building a town, I love hospitals because you know why? Nothing can go wrong in a hospital.
Well, that's what they say. But
I mean,
feel like
everything can.
I feel like everything goes wrong.
But then 100% everything can go wrong in a hospital. But the thing is, nothing can go wrong when everything's going wrong because everything is there to support you. You know, power goes out. They have generators. You throw up. They have anti-nausea medication.
Zofran.
You need surgery. They do surgery. I've always talked about the sexual relationship with like your nurses. There's like that kind of flirty thing there. But because of HIPAA, you never do anything about it.
Yes, there's something so hot that's like, do you want your saltines? Yes, I want my crackers. Like,
and then they like feed you the cracker.
And they
when
feed
you're,
you the
like, feeble,
crackers
then
and
you
those
can get-
socks. The socks are like the rubber things on the bottom so you can't slip.
Oh my God, the best.
So I'm at Sephora, love it or leave it, great show. And so I was checking out and I got the new House Labs, Gaga's new foundation. Once again, not an ad from Gaga. So I was checking out and the cashier was like, okay, so your change is $9.11 and we just looked at each other. And we were like, I was like, who's going to say it first? Who's going to say it first? And she's like, yeah, today is September 11th. And I said, it is 9/11. And how crazy is it that my exact change was a $5 bill, 4 ones, 1 10 cents, and a cent. The exact
Sorry, babe, it's a dime. 1 10 cents.
I barely use coins anymore, honey. I just use quarters to do my laundry. But it's the way that it was 9/11.
Do you actually?
I use quarters for my laundry. I'm just like any other bitch.
It's astonishing that I have not seen, so humble.
Yeah.
It's astonishing that I have not seen that building of yours that you reside in and we're best friends and sisters.
Your dog has been in my apartment. Your dad has been in my your dad's been in my apartment. Omar's been in my apartment. But you haven't.
The stories of my dad and my friends' apartments are the best.
So it was just really weird because like that morning I was journaling. I was like, what does it feel like to be an Arab in today's world? Like in living in a post 9/11 world, especially in the United States. And like, yes, let's never forget. Absolutely. Let's acknowledge that. We can't take away that atrocity. That being said, I think there is something to acknowledge about the amount of atrocities or like the amount of 9/11s that have happened in the Arab world due to like
Imperialism.
yeah, sure, but also post 9/11, like what happened, they were trying to get back
Yeah, stuff happening.
So it was just really weird. And then all of a sudden she's like, your change is 9/11. And I was like,
not to get into 9/11, which is an insane sentence in and of itself. But it obviously 100% like was one of the worst things to happen to our nation. And we saw so many people come together. And it was horrible. It was an atrocity, but it was also beautiful. And the amount of people that literally lost their lives in pursuit of our country's safety. And I actually saw the best documentary about 9/11. It was done by a film student at NYU. And it's like the only documentary that has actual footage.
on Netflix?
I don't know if it's on Netflix, but my teacher, shout out James Gardner, had it on a DVD. And I think it's so important to talk about that. And it's important to not forget, but it's also important to talk about the amount of Islamophobia and racism and blatant racism that came after 9/11, and how Arabs and Muslim people were viewed, and how our country, created this like culture war with Arab people and brown people. And so I think we can do both at the same time. I think we can recognize that that was an awful thing that was despicable to happen in our country.
100%. That was an awful terrorist attack.
We can mourn the lives of those people while also, after doing that, taking time to reflect of what are other outcomes of the situation and how has our country failed us in more ways than
my
one.
dad and my brother, like, they're still stopped at the airports, like, to this day for random checks. They're like, do you mind if we just this is so random. This is super, super random. Do you mind if we take you to the back? Like, okay, we're going to Burbank. We're not going anywhere crazy.
I was going to thank you guys for your perspective. I think Americans don't talk enough about, like, the aftermath of 9/11. Like, being from New York, if you're from New York, you know someone who either lost a family member or you know how your own family was affected. I, like, know where my parents were when the towers unfortunately came down and people lost their lives, which is horrific, but I think we have to acknowledge the aftermath and, like, the statistic rise in hate crimes towards Middle Eastern people and how they're still feeling those implications and the woes of people having ignorant outlooks on such a beautiful and empowering community, such as the Middle Eastern community. I was going to share a story that was very humbling. Well, not humbling because I find it more funny than anything because I was still happy to be there. Yaz, I have to tell you, I kept thinking about you because I was at an Emmys pre-party and the entire cast of Succession was here.
Don't fucking
there.
I just got
And the guy you're obsessed with, he was wearing the hat and he
shaking.
passed by me with the drink in his hand and the hat and I was like, I
Jeremy
wish I could
Strong?
take a mental picture for
His name is
Yaz.
Jeremy Strong. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
So wait.
So the entire cast of Ted Lasso, the entire cast of Abbott Elementary, the entire cast, like all these, I saw Josie and I's mother, Amy Poehler. Like, it was a great thing. But I didn't know this until last night. So it's an Emmys pre-party, right? So everyone and their mother is there. And we learned really quickly that there are waves of people invited to this. Like 50 Cent and like Jeremiah and all of these people performed.
No.
So if like you were A-list, you got an 8 p.m. invite. And then if you were like below that, you got a 9 p.m. invite. My friend and I were invited at 10 p.m. And I was like, that makes sense, I guess, like logistically to control the crowd. But I was like, they don't care. Like, PR wanted you to know that you weren't a part of the caliber of people that they wanted to initially invite. But you know what? We're here for a good time, not a long time. So I was so happy to be there. And it was cool to like have conversations with people that I'm inspired by. But I was like, only in LA would there be 4 different invites to the exact same party. And we all know that. And I'm coming in with the last wave and we're like watching like the head of NBC and like cast people walk out. And they're like, wait, why weren't you here for the performances? And you then have to like explain to them, like, our invite said that this started at 10, and we're learning very intentionally. So that was really fun. But Yaz and Josie, you guys were with me in spirit, and I wish I could have taken mental pictures for you, Yaz.
I wish you did too. I just want to circle back to the most important thing that's happened in this episode so far. So what drink was Jeremy Strong holding?
Oh, I have no idea. He looked really cool. He had a hat on.
Yeah, he did.
Looked like he's kind of his character.
Oh,
but thank God, a much better energy. The redhead was like on the dance floor.
Yeah, she
I
was.
apologize for not knowing their names.
Yeah, she was.
I've watched the entire show.
Yeah,
It's
she
phenomenal.
was.
But yeah, it was. I was like, this is very LA. This is LA. This is humbling. They're like, we want you to know your place. And you know what? I ain't even mad at it. You feel me? I ain't even mad at it.
I love that. I'm so happy that you had fun.
Okay, speaking about celebrities and celebrity events and all that is Hollywood and people that you look up to or inspired by, today specifically, we are going to be talking about celebrity deaths. And in the light of Queen Elizabeth's passing and all of the hot takes and sometimes very morbid things that people have to say that have also resulted in some very interesting memes that we have all seen.
So I'm a little out of breath. I'm a little exhausted and I'm a little warm because I just came from watching the Queen of England, may she rest in peace, her casket. I literally watched her casket from 25 feet away being taken down the Royal Mile from Hollywood Castle, I think it's called, from Balmoral Castle to Hollywood Castle.
There's a place called Hollywood Castle.
Oh, Holly Road.
We were talking about Hollywood and celebrity deaths, and we're like, Hollywood Castle.
Not me thinking that I'm so LA that I thought there was a Hollywood castle. Okay. Anyway, so she was saying she died at Balmar, which the queen always knew that that's where she wanted to pass.
Oh.
So when the queen died, it's like very common knowledge that for every royal's death, there's a plan of attack for their, not of attack, but there's a plan of motions. And this plan, they say London Bridge is falling. So when the queen dies, the secretary of the queen calls basically everyone in order of most importance to least importance to announce that the London Bridge is falling. And that means that the queen has died. So first they call the primary countries that the queen presides over, and then the rest of the territories that she presides over. They let them know. They let the family know. They let the family come to the queen, and then they announce to the rest of the world. And the specific operation that happens and that is conducted in Scotland, which is where I am right now, is called none other than how chic, Operation Unicorn.
The Unicorn Plan, Operation Unicorn, I believe.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's literally called Operation Unicorn.
No way.
Why? Whoa, that is
I don't
That's
know.
a sleigh. Wait, not that she'd passed away. It's only a sleigh that is called Operation Unicorn.
Basically, Operation Unicorn means that she's taken from Balmoral Castle to, I think, Holyrood Castle to St. Giles Cathedral, which is where there's like a little mass. And I, being in Edinburgh, was like, I am not going to miss this iconic moment in history, despite the problematicness of the institution and the monarch as a whole, which we don't even need to get into because that is a whole nother episode in and of itself. It is like a very iconic thing to obviously witness. So me and my two castmates, Emmy and Aubrey, marched the streets of Edinburgh, and we went to where we thought was the place to start lining up. Turns out it was a queue. It was a wait that people had been in since 4 a.m.
Shut the fuck up.
So he was like, there's no chance that you guys are going to see it. Like, sorry, bros. Like, don't really know what to say.
Did they say it like that? Sorry, bros, don't really know what to say.
The Scottish people don't really like the institution. They don't like
they don't. Neither
the
does
royals
the
at all.
Irish.
They're like anti-royalists. So he was like, I don't even know why people are here. But we were like, yeah, same. But like, we still want to be like in the know.
As an American, I want to be in the know.
Exactly. So I was like, but I also need my grandchildren to be able to tell the story
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
witnessed this happen. So we just go on a little stroll and we're walking and we see a gaggle of people lined up. It is as if Childish Gambino is the headliner of Coachella, and there is like hundreds of people just like packed in this one area just to see the queen pass by, like this, I would say like maybe like 60-foot space. And we couldn't see past all these people. But I looked up, and in the building above me, to the side of me, I saw a bunch of girls with their heads out the window. And I just straight up asked them, like, screamed from the bottom floor. I was like, could we come up? Could my friends and I come up? And they were like, yeah, sure.
Love that.
We're like,
Love that.
Partner number 11. And so anyway, we went to the top of the building and we had the best view. I mean, we were like 70 feet above the ground, and we saw the Queen's casket pass down the Royal Mile.
Wow.
And it was pretty wild. But shout out to those girls.
Regardless, because we can all acknowledge, like what you said earlier about the monarch as a whole and the institution, I do have to say, I think there is room to say that we are never going to see another queen in our lifetime. We're not. And I think like that's a really crazy thing, because it's now Charles, then it's William, and then it's George.
Our entire lifetime for them, it's been a woman, like it's been a matriarch.
I mean, should there even be monarchs in the first place? That's a whole other conversation. But I do think there is something to say that, like, have you watched The Crown? Every bitch ever is now like, we need to watch The Crown, because they talk about her like coming to this role of that's only been men for so long and like taking over. It's very wild. But that's a really good segue into like deaths in society when we put them on a pedestal, aka celebrity deaths.
It is crazy. I mean, even just being in the UK, I think it's a very different vibe than being in America when the Queen died, for instance, like how important she was to people, not even people that I know who are like not royalists at all. It's just like she was like a grandma to people. How do you guys feel about the Queen's passing? Or like, what is the consensus in America? Because I'm, being fucking flooded by the Scottish air. And so it's different here.
So, yeah. Let me preface this by saying death is innately somber and unfortunate and difficult. And I will never celebrate the death of another human being. That is not my makeup. I think that is not okay. So, Miss Queen, may she rest in peace. I send peace and love to her family.
Yeah, Miss Queen.
Senora Queen. Like she was somebody's auntie. She was somebody's abuela. She was a human. And but it's really difficult because, as a Caribbean girl myself, being from the Dominican Republic, obviously a lot of my peers are Caribbean. A lot of my peers are African, whether it be from Kenya or Trinidad and Tobago and places like that. And let's just say the sentiment that people were sharing on their social medias was very joyous. Very, very joyous. I have never seen this quick of a production in regards to memes. I have never seen this eclectic of videos about a death in my life. Black Twitter is having a field day. A field day with a barbecue stand and a kickback where people are dancing. It's kind of insane. But in all sincerity, not that posting matters, right? Whatever. Well, it does, but not that posting doesn't encompasses everyone's life and all of their perspectives. But what I will say is I personally did not post at all about the Queen's death. I think it is unfortunate that she passed, but the reason that I personally did that or chose not to was because of, I think, what she represented. And I don't think that I can look at the face of my Black peers and Indigenous peers and people who have been colonized and still living under the implications of the imperialism and the genocide and colonization of the royal family and tell them that they should be mourning than they naturally feel like they should, if that makes any sense.
Alycia, that's interesting you say that because I saw Cardi B posted and she was like, I'm going to keep my mouth shut with this one because I'm not going to hell with the rest of you.
People are really getting crazy.
To an extent, I was like, just give it a beat. Someone did pass away. Both can live at the exact same time. There is duality and honoring what she represented, but also critiquing and also saying what she represented was colonialism and imperialism.
That's the thing. I'm just I'm sorry. I cannot sit here and wipe away the fact that she represented a colonial empire that legitimized and perpetuated racism and classism and genocide and slavery and colonialism.
I feel like you can also honor that, she was a woman in a male-dominated monarchy back in the time.
Did you guys see the memes that people
some
made
of these memes
at the gates of hell?
And Diana, Our Lady died.
Okay.
I just want to finish my thought with saying, Frederick Joseph tweeted and said, only if the world had showed this much empathy for the communities that the Queen and monarchy colonized and ravaged.
Here's my response to what you just said. You can't tell a community that has been oppressed how to react to things that are triggering and obviously things that are affecting them in their oppression. However, I'm not the most educated person on the royals. I mean, I literally I have a tiny little a sperm cell of knowledge about it in just the past few days on TikTok and just reading. But I think that a lot of people confuse the Queen and the people that are royals with the institution itself. And I think that you can separate the Queen from the institution. But I'm also just it doesn't make sense to me. And maybe she is a symbol of all the problems, and that's why. I could never understand why anyone would be happy that someone's dead.
I agree with that.
I will never take joy in anyone's death. I'm sorry. I think just morality, that's not okay. But in my opinion, I understand people mourning her because she represented the country. I understand nationalism and having pride in the country. But I don't think that we can separate the Queen from the institution at all. Like, the Queen wasn't just complicit in UK's racist history. She took part in it, like supported British torture of the anti-colonization activist in Cyprus in 1995 and in Yemen in 1963. She expanded the British Navy, enhanced an economic framework that like exploited POC labor in the global South, hid behind, like the statutes of the infrastructure that she was a part of.
Her crown's diamonds, they were mined in Africa. They were all black diamonds, and it's worth over $40 million. And they did a statistic. They did this where all the amount of money that crown holds can feed all of Africa multiple times over, and people wouldn't have these.
Shit.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's just her.
Like, she was the face of an institution. I understand, like, as a royal, I understand how the system works. She didn't choose to be a royal woman, and she took on the position, but it doesn't change the fact that she stands for an infrastructure that people are still very much dealing with implications and ramifications of colonization that she ruled under. So I don't think that we can separate her, but I chose to say nothing. I mourn her death, and I honestly send love and prayers to her family, but I chose to say nothing. Like, I wasn't going to be like, what a queen. I saw a lot of people posting like out of respect and saying that they were inspired by her and stuff, and I just don't share that. But I will never police someone's language in regards to their hurt dealing with oppression. But at the same time, I will never police someone's language in regards to like how they mourn a life as well. Like, people should do what they see fit.
I do have to say, before I ask you guys this question, get the corgis out of Andrew's fucking hands. That's what I will say. They gave all of the Queen's corgis to Prince Andrew, her son. The Epstein guy.
He's such a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, get those corgis out of his hands.
The royals, I'm like, we should just, I hope this is the end of the monarchy in general. I hope it's the end of,
Agreed.
I hope it's the end of all the royals. Not their lives. Let them live on. But no, I do think people are saying that they think that the Queen held it together so much that they actually think that it might be going away or whatever.
So if there was a celebrity or a public figure in our lives that have passed away, I feel like even though we might have not ever met them, I feel like at least for me, I broke down when Kobe Bryant passed away, and my heart literally broke in half. Was there like a celebrity that you guys like couldn't get over? Like, it was like actually it was like as if a family member died.
I think up there for me is Michael and definitely Whitney. Like, till this day, I don't know what it is. I watch any Whitney video and I get emotional or I cry.
Yeah.
Because it felt like she was an auntie. I also like just really resonated with her music. I think that she was like one of the best voices of our generation. You know, she came from a gospel background. Like, but it's interesting because it's like people do this really weird thing when celebrities die.
I'm so sorry, but the way that people literally find every fucking excuse and reason to, like, when a celebrity dies, to like claim ownership over knowing them or like a relationship. You could have like Lisa fucking Richardson, I hope that's not a real person, could have
definitely a person,
passed Michael Jackson on the street, and when he died, she like posted on Instagram and was like, God rest his soul. When we met on the street and we shared air, the way that he looked at me, I enjoyed that moment. I was happy that I could be there for him. And for that reason, I'm so sad. #mourning, #send love. Like, bitch, you did not fucking know him. The amount of people that claim to have known people, or they always post. I've never understood, if I even met a celebrity once, I wouldn't post unless they meant so much to me personally. Unless they meant so much to me or my community, or, you know, they've saved me personally. If it's just a celebrity that I happen to have a photo with that I have no connection to.
Fuck, it just hit me and I'll cry.
Wait, say it. Wait, Alicia's...
It just hit me.
The way that I know Alycia so well.
No, I cannot
say it.
Cry again on this show.
Yeah, 2 episodes in a row, she's crying.
I think that when it comes to celebrity death, I think what sometimes hurts more is obviously not the person, not just the person and their personal life, which is already sad in and of itself and is worth mourning, but what they stood for and the work that they did for their community. And I think that we can all relate to people that we looked up to who represented us.
And Josie, I think that I forgot it because I can be so emotionally unavailable that I don't like, once again, being vulnerable, ill. But I'm working on it. Let's all be vulnerable. But Josie saw it read on my face. Josie actually was the one who told me that Chadwick Boseman had died of cancer. And why am I crying? Like, it's this ridiculous notion because you didn't know them, right? And I agree with Josie because it's like, yes, mourn people, uplift people, give people their flowers. But honestly, give people their flowers while they're here. But give people their flowers. Like, I posted about Chadwick passing, not only because he wasn't just an artist for us. Like, I think for Black people, he stood for so much more. He played so many historical figures, the first Black superhero. And he also died of cancer silently. And personally, a lot of people don't know this about me, but my mother fought cancer. And she is still alive and being the baddest and most amazing woman I've ever met.
We love you, Cami.
We love you, Camelia. Pero mommy. But seeing her go through cancer and behind closed doors as well, like my heart broke, and I've never cried like that over someone passing. And Josie knew the effect that it was going to have on me, and still to this day, I don't know how you knew I was going to be that sad. But yeah, it was Chadwick for me. But it's just this interesting conversation, right? About how we react to death, because it also makes me really sad that even in his death, and I think this is a conversation that leads me to ask you guys a question. There's something that us as people do is also like we lack humanity in people's death. Like it seems like people fall on opposite sides of the spectrum. Like you either are like, oh my God, like you try to fabricate that you knew them more than you did, or you want to like mourn with them like you actually personally knew them, which is weird and like cloudy. And it talks like our obsession with celebrity culture. But then on the other hand, like even in Chadwick's death and Amy's death and Michael Jackson's death and Whitney's death, people were like making fun of them, and like there were memes of the way that Chadwick looked within his last like 2 years, because he looked very sickly and people would make fun of him like on the red carpet, not knowing that he was battling with cancer. And it makes me lead.
Take a sec, beep.
Yeah, sorry, I'm actually taking a sec.
Take a second.
Yeah, you're good. You're okay.
I remember being with you and seeing your reaction, and we were also, not to get too personal, but we were also FaceTiming a grown man and seeing, and I only say grown man because I want to emphasize how I've never seen this man get emotional in this way, and to see him cry.
We were, yeah.
For me, not to make it about me in the moment, but watching that, I was like, wow, like this man stood for so much more than just making movies. He stood for a community.
I think like a conversation that you and I had that day was the fact that like, unfortunately, Black people have had to become very accustomed to losing people early.
Yeah.
Well, like we knew in COVID, like Black and brown people were the most affected. That's what I was trying to say.
100%.
Like in COVID, Black and brown people were like the most affected communities. And that, I even feel this way with Arabs in a different way, because I feel like Arabs are always dying. Either that or we just like know so many people. I feel like we always have a cousin that's dead.
And also, I feel like with a community, with a culture so rich, is that like if a distant relative that you've met twice at a family reunion dies, it affects you because you're a part of that community. And it's like you also see and also I feel like in today's world, people are dying younger and younger, because you know that phenomenon of like the 27 Club, where like a lot of celebrities have died at 27. And it's so weird. And I also I want to bring up TikTok, because you see a lot of like people, like these younger generation Gen Zers, like our age, fantasizing, romanticizing death. Like I'm so depressed. Look at me. I know that was a really harsh segue into like a different type of mourning. But do you guys feel like that?
But I think our culture does have like this obsession with death. Like I'll be honest, like Michael was a really hard death, like because obviously for Black people, once again, King of Pop, Soul, all that stuff. But the way that people acted after, it made me uncomfortable. I found it eerie. Like the way that people were like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And people really, and I understand someone having like a strong impact in your life, but it's this conversation of like, why do we deal with celebrity deaths like in a very unhealthy way a lot of times? Like there is this obsession, there's like this infatuation. And also, let's not even talk about the news cycle and how they become like vultures.
They're vultures.
Like I will never forgive this country and the way that they have publicized some of these deaths with just a complete lack of empathy. Like, for example, we saw Pop Smoke's video dying and all the media companies shared it and it was disgusting and it makes us destigmatized to death. And we forget, like, they weren't just celebrities. They weren't just on a pedestal.
They're humans.
They were humans with families. This whole Kobe Bryant thing, his wife who just won a lawsuit because she had to see this on a television and she was finding out nuances about the death of her child and her husband through TMZ and stuff like that. That is insane to me.
The fact that people feel like they have the right,
Yes.
it's abhorrent and it's disgusting, and that's also just a touches on like relationships that celebrities have with people in general, and people feeling like they have the right to their privacy and the right to like their information being disclosed. That is literally so disgusting. But I mean, I feel like it is crazy. I mean, remember, speaking of Kobe, wild tidbit that I don't think a lot of people know.
Oh, yeah.
That it's that important
Yeah.
at all, because obviously we are the least of important when it comes to this legend's passing and his daughter's passing. But we actually were supposed to film with Kobe the 2 days after he died. We were supposed to film a scene with him. He was going to be on our show, and I don't think anyone knows that. And so,
yeah, people don't. He was going to be on Saved by the Bell for our pilot.
which was so surreal. And I remember the costume girls had gotten his sizes from his stylist, and like he fully was on the call sheet and all of that. And I remember I think like people in our school had known that. And so when Yasmine and I were with some of our friends from school and they found out that he died, they, like, a girl came up to me, she was like, do you need to go home? Like, do you need to like take some time away and like rest, because like this guy died and like Kobe, and like, and I was like, what? Absolutely. Like, I was like, I did not know him like that. I was like, we need to mourn him for who he is and mourn for his family and for the people that actually knew him. Like, why do people think that they can just pretend like they know someone? But even though it was very weird.
It was interesting because finishing the pilot, which I don't even think Josie and I have talked about, just because we were like, we want to respect the sentiments that everyone is like dealing with it in their own way. But like the energy on set has shifted greatly while we were finishing the pilot of the show. And I remember learning that he had passed through one of our best friends, Angelica Washington, whom we love. And she called me specifically because she knew that I'd been talking about it for a month with her, that I was so excited to meet Kobe on set, that I can't believe that he was originally a fan of the first Saved by the Bell, and that he was excited to be on our show. Like, our EP told us that. And it was just insane. It's really like beautiful and eye-opening to see how like one person can change and bring joy to so many people. Like, and it's unfortunate that like some people live their entire lives never even seeing the full impact they had on the world until they passed. You know what I mean? Like, I think thankfully, hopefully Kobe was given his flowers, but I think that there's so many artists and so many celebrities that weren't really respected for their true artistry until they leave. You know what I mean? Like, leave this earth. And like specifically with Kobe, it was insane to see LA come out the way they came out. And just like the whole world, like that man was so loved and so respected. And LA, you felt it. You felt the energy in the air change. And I was just like, wow, the fact that one human can have that effect on so many people is so powerful.
Something that I think is difficult for most people when people die is how immediately, especially if they were a mostly good human being, how they're revered and respected and loved and given the graces that they deserved for all the good things that they did. but also how complicated it is when those people have troubled past. And even like learning about Michael Jackson's past post his death was wild. And how do we as people reconcile with someone's problematic past, and also, you know, how they affected us in a positive way? And how do we celebrate them while not silencing the people that may have been affected or victimized by these people?
I mean, I don't have an answer for that. I feel like what that makes me think of, for the example of XXXTentacion, the rapper, singer, songwriter who publicly, like, he beat his girlfriend, you know, like that's a confirmed thing. And like, I'll always believe the survivor, the victim. But it's very interesting because I was watching his documentary, and like he's talking about like his demons inside, and like sometimes like he just couldn't stop himself, but he loved her so much. And I'm like, it was in this documentary, you see how the world kind of just publicized his death. Like there's videos of him dead in his car, and it's just circulating around the internet. And that's when he really blew up, was when he died. And then you acknowledge and also realize like he beat a person. He beat a woman, you know what I mean? And like in the documentary, his mom and this girl like had a huge conversation about it. And you saw the pain with both of them.
It is wild. I remember, you know, reading all that about him, and then also hearing from someone like my friend Sky, who was friends with him, and how amazing of a friend he was to her.
Yeah.
And like hearing the contrast between that and obviously the stories that I saw. And I think what my message would be to people, or my message would be to myself, is like, we shouldn't feel guilty for mourning the loss of someone who did bad things for how they've affected us, if they've affected us in a positive way. But I think as people in general, it's our responsibility as human beings to recognize people in their fullness. And it's not always just keeping all the good things that they did, and also, you know, doing enough research for your own self to realize, like, you know, who they did affect and who they did victimize. And I think if you're including that in the conversation, then I don't think you're a bad person for, you know, revering Michael Jackson or revering people who may have been accused of things, or someone like X, who obviously is a very problematic past and has done some awful things. I just think it's more nuanced than, oh, this was an awful person and now we can't listen to their music, or now we can't enjoy it anymore. But like I said before, you can't tell a group that has been oppressed or victimized by any one person how to respond to that. And if it is never listening to their music again and never wanting to speak about them again, and not wanting to be in spaces where they're celebrated or they're revered, then I respect that 100%. And I cannot tell that person otherwise.
Smash the subscribe button below to not miss a single thing of Dare We Say on YouTube.